You know, sometimes I really feel bad because dealing with theological numbskulls on the YouTubes is like playing cards with my sister's kids or my brother's kids, however the tombstone quote goes. But I am utterly appalled at the dummery, or at least the lack of critical thinking skills, the lack of connecting argument and inference abductively, inductively, whatever, deductively. Do these folks within young earth creationism not know that just because God is required for life does not mean that young earth creationism is true? Really? You guys can't grasp? You guys are the worldview arguers. You guys are the ones that say, oh, the facts have to be interpreted within the context of a worldview, i.e., glasses. And you don't understand that old earth creationism can take the same evidence that God is required for life and not plug that into their own system. Theistic evolutionists can do the very same thing. God is required for life. Okay, that has been really the common sense position for centuries. Now, why do you think that somehow entails now that young earth creationism is true? What is wrong with you people? Listen to the lack of logical steps. They cite evidence and then make an absurd jump in the dark in order to back up their arguments. Just watch this, folks.
Scientists are grossly wrong with their suppositions on origin of life. That I know because that's an area that I really know. You know, you can mix these two under different conditions. What they're going
Okay, now this guy is going to poo-poo science and then turn around and cite science that is coming to the conclusion that we need a, quote, transcendent causal agent to explain not only the origin of the universe at the Big Bang, but also the origin of life. Watch him. I don't want to attribute intellectual dishonesty to anybody, but it is intellectually dishonest what you're going to see.
to do and what they're not going to do. You know what molecules do. I know this area of science.
Okay, so scientists are wrong. We know what molecules do. I know this area of science. Do you see the double talk and the equivocation that goes on? This makes me upset, ladies and gentlemen. And this makes thinking people upset. This is why atheists despise Christians. Because Christians are not intellectually honest and they don't do the hard work to connect subject and predicate. A basic scientific method, approach, make your hypotheses, make a judgment, bring concept and action together, and come to knowledge. Oh, I don't even know if I can continue. The absurdity is mind-boggling, to quote Will Ferrell.
Scientists are grossly wrong with their suppositions on origin of.
Okay, so this guy cannot be an expert in all the sciences. I don't know who he is. Let's say he's an expert in one area of science. Now, when he says they're wrong, he's actually probably saying outside of his field, everybody else is wrong. But in his field, he's right, therefore everybody else is wrong. This is easier than playing cards with my sister's kids or stealing candy from a baby. Is this the level of argumentation that we Christians have? Ugh. I'm getting so mad I could spit. But let's continue.
Life. That I know because that's an area that I really know.
Yeah, so listen to the double talk. Science is wrong. I'm a scientist. I know because I know.
You know you can mix these two under different conditions, what they're going to do
I think he just used the word no in 3 different ways right there. And I don't even want to rewind to point it out.
and what they're not going to do. You know what molecules do.
Okay, there we go. That might be a quadra entendre. I mean, no rapper has perfected the skill of the quadra entendre. Look at how smart this guy is. He just used the word no in 4 different ways. He may even go to a penta. No. What is 5? Yeah, penta. Yeah, penta. Anyway, we're exceeding my knowledge level now.
I know this area of science. We're finding red blood cells, and I'm not talking about fossilized stuff. Red blood cell of T-Rex that was supposed to have died off 70.
Okay, so he's going to cite science now in order to say that science is wrong because we know that blood cells can't make it that long, regardless of, as Dr. Fuzz Rana says, there are reasons, the polymers, the, chemical structures, etc. But this guy is going to discard all of that because he thinks he has to do whatever he can to throw the evidence within a young earth context. And this is the dishonesty that opened my eyes, that a lot of these people care too much about the agenda and not the truth.
Billion years ago. I mean, I know organic matter doesn't stay around that long. And
how does he know? Is he assuming? Is he presupposing? Yes, he's actually presupposing. The very reason why he knows is because he thinks, as a non-theologian, that his literal crass interpretation of Genesis is the right one and no other. See, he will poo-poo the area of my scholarship, and specifically the area of Dr. Falk's scholarship, in order to puff up his own scholarship. Now, who is really acting with integrity?
People say, well, proteins have this enormous, they don't have an enormous half-life. I mean, an amide bond has a half-life in water of 7 years, which is not long.
Okay, so now he's talking Greek to me, but I can't comment because I don't comment on areas I don't know.
It's the twinkling of an eye, but that's per amide. That means a protein that's, say, a 400.
Amide, is that, oh, yeah. I love chocolate-covered almonds.
Mer has a half-life in water of, I don't know, a few days or a week. That's it. Because it's a half-life per bond is 7 years. It means after 7 years, half of it is broken. But now you have 400 of them. And to think of these, and so you wonder, did the dinosaurs really?
Okay, so everything else in other disciplines, especially cosmology, that's where I am a lay expert. No other area of science confirms a 6,000 to 10,000 year old creation. I think there's something to the fact that biology is telling us that humanity has had a recent origin, and because of that, they think that all things had a recent origin, and therefore there's no possible way. Good grief, I just swallowed a bug by trying to talk to you all. Ugh, that's gross. I'm fishing. You gotta just get used to eating bugs and ants that crawl into your sandwiches. But I digest. It is amazing the intellectual sleight of hand. The way young earth creationists argue reminds me of my friends Matt Dillahunty and the like, and his followers, really. A lot of dum-dums that really don't know what they're talking about. And then they play, departments of discipline against one another. And that is the brilliance in Reasons to Believe. It is the interdisciplinary nature of the organization that has allowed Reasons to Believe to stand above all else as the most rational approach to these questions of origins. But for sake of continuing on, I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to let you listen to the absurdity and see. I'm going to treat you like my class now in philosophy. I'm going to ask you to pick out the informal fallacies that you're going to hear. So I'm going to turn this off, start it from the beginning, and then be done.
Scientists are grossly wrong with their suppositions on origin of life. That I know because that's an area that I really know. You know, you can mix these two under different conditions, what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. You know what molecules do. I know this area of science. We're finding red blood cells, and I'm not talking about fossilized stuff. Red blood cells of T-Rex that was supposed to have died off 70 million years ago. I mean, I know organic matter doesn't stay around that long. And you say, and people say, well, you know, proteins have this enormous, they don't have an enormous half-life. I mean, an amide bond has a half-life in water of 7 years, which is not long. That's the twinkling of an eye. But that's per amide. That means a protein that's, say, a 400 mer has a half-life in water of, I don't know, a few days or a week. That's it. Because it's a half-life per bond is 7 years. It means after 7 years, half of it is broken. But now you have 400 of them. And to think of these, and so you wonder, did the dinosaurs really die off 70 million years ago? What about all this collagen, which is all these proteins we're finding? I mean, they're filled with collagen. It's really amazing. Gerald Schroeder, doesn't matter how you spell it, age of the universe, Orthodox Jewish physicist. He's the one who says, when you look at the relativity of time, we know our universe is expanding. And if you look at the early origins, then a 24-hour day at the early origins is going to look, when we're looking from our perspective, it's going to look like 1 billion years. From the early perspective, it's going to happen very quickly because the expansion of the universe is happening very fast. So all of time now is relative, and we know time is relative. That's the only thing I can really pin down and say the origin of life people have it wrong.